What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios. Lego doesn't like to do creatures. And before you Palpatine spin your way to wreck me in the comments, I'm talking Star Wars and specifically brick built creatures. Sure, we get the molded or tiny brick built dewback every few years, or this sad excuse for a Sarlacc pit. There is an untapped gold mine of gooberfish, mythosaur, and even rancor sets that would have Lego Star Wars fans everywhere drooling. Luckily, there are people out there who aren't waiting around for Lego and creating massive creature builds of their own. And today, I'm tackling one of those giant mocks as I continue to build the coolest army in the Star Wars galaxy. So if you're ready for some bombad building, don't forget to execute order 66 on that like button, and let's get started. Since this is a custom mock, not a set, my journey started with some Bricklink packages full of parts. This beast requires over 2,200 Lego pieces, which, to put that in perspective, is almost 200 pieces more than what is needed to build this massive ATT. So I'm very excited to see how big the Fambaa is going to end up being. I typically build a lot of custom Star Wars vehicles, so I'm usually working with the same kinds of grays and white pieces, but this build is full of color and unique parts that have me anticipating a more interesting and engaging build process. The biggest downside to building a custom mock is there are no sorted bags like in a Lego set. Everything is just jumbled together like shoppers during a busy market day on Tatooine. So I've started sorting out the pieces by color before building. I'm not super diligent about sorting every color and piece type, and sometimes I'll even combine colors that are similar to each other, since at a certain point you're just wasting time over sorting since all the pieces are going to be used up anyways. All the orders have been sorted out and it's time to build a Fambaa. This mock is designed by Big Judge on Rebrickable, who must be a fellow Gungan enthusiast since they have a number of Gungan themed designs on their page. I came upon this design while watching a video from Tony Hardy 1999. He's gearing up to build a massive auto Gunga mock and showed a picture of this Fambaa on Rebrickable he was going to use. As soon as that glorious beast popped up on screen, I knew I had to build a couple. If you're new to the channel, you'll soon learn I am obsessed with all things Gungan, and an accurately sized Lego Fambaa has been a dream of mine for years now. I even attempted to build one a long time ago, and to say it was a rough build is an understatement. Sad thing is, I wasn't even a kid when I designed that, but to be fair, I'm a landscape and vehicle builder, not a creature builder. I quickly realized I greatly underestimated the mock and how long it would take. I was going solely off the piece count and not design, so I was comparing it to other vehicles of a similar count that I'd built in the past, but their designs were a lot simpler. So what I thought would be a one afternoon build session turned into a 2-day grind. Custom vehicles are typically a shell of flat panels, creating the shape and concealing a mostly hollow interior. But this Fambaa was dense and mostly brick built. The body and legs are solid, so you're literally building the structure brick by brick, and in order to get a smooth organic shape across the various parts of the build, there's lots of slopes going in different directions, building on top of each other. There's almost no completely flat areas on the entire beast, which is pretty impressive. So it wasn't a very complex or challenging build technique-wise, there was just a lot of time-consuming filler building inside the creature, then all the exterior panels of slopes. But that being said, I really enjoyed the building process. At no point was I frustrated or confused. The steps are all pretty straightforward, and there weren't really any repetitive sections to slog through. One of the big selling points about this mock for me was the head. I'm fairly confident, given enough time, I could build an ovalish body and some decent legs. They're pretty simple and straightforward, but a head requires much more thought. You can get away with blocky or weird looking legs, but a bad head can ruin a mock by itself, and Big Judge did such a good job here. Not only did he create a realistic shape, but even worked some personality into the face by using slopes above the eyes to give them a slight scowl, and making the mouth open and close to convey different emotions. The mock was surprisingly inexpensive given its high piece count. I ended up paying about $130 US, and that's including shipping. But I did gather 35% of the pieces from my collection beforehand, which really cut down on the price, so if I ever build a second one, it's going to be more expensive. There's a large drum that sits atop the Fambaa that's used to create an energy shield, but it's not very useful without the shield emitter, which sits on a second Fambaa. And since I only have one, I'm building a large platform instead for Gungans to ride in. Similar to what we see in Lord of the Rings, where the giant elephants are carrying troops in giant towers on their backs. With high ground like that, the Gungans should be unbeatable. I'm almost done, but first I want to create a scene to properly display this magnificent beast. Luckily for me, I always have a Naboo mock on hand, and this one fits exactly with the story I have in mind. In the early days, Gungans Gungans lived in small, scattered tribes. Squabbling and stubborn devotion to the old ways divided their species, stagnating it while the rest of the galaxy bloomed. Knowing much potential was being wasted, Big Boss Nass set out to unite the Gungans under one banner so they might all prosper. Many joined his side willingly, but others wouldn't bend a knee. The lavender-skinned Gungans of Saxum Gunga were one such tribe. Small in number but ferocious and cunning, they waged guerrilla warfare, striking then disappearing, creating quite a thorn in Boss Nass's side. I had a feeling this was going to be an incredible mock even before it was built. Looking at it, you can tell this was a true passion project and no small detail was ignored. One of the main concerns with mocks of this size is gravity. Wings can sag, plates can bow under the weight of a build, and the whole thing can be super unsteady and need a stabilizer. But this Fambaa has no problem standing and holding its own weight, even in different positions. It's a little front heavy and one of the legs does collapse under too much pressure, but that's because of a faulty joint piece, not the design. I knew the Fambaa was going to have some articulation, but was surprised with just how posable it is. Not only do all the extremities move, but the front legs can even rotate in and out, giving this an even more organic looking posture. All the mobility does mean there are gaps around some of the joints, which can look weird from certain angles, but that's just the nature of a LEGO creation. Even LEGO themselves can't escape the joint gaps on molded or brick-built creatures. Best of all though is its size and accuracy. This behemoth towers over everything around it, just like in the movie, and seems pretty close to minifig scale. I like how dark tan and brown pieces were thrown in to recreate that speckled appearance of the Fambaa's skin. The back legs are hunched, the tail is small and pointed, and the alligator-like face with its toothy smile is just the cherry on top. Big Judge, you are a legend for this one. I could go on for hours about this and Gungan lore in general, but I want to know what you think of the build in the comments, and I will catch you next time, but until then, happy building.